Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Hey guys, welcome back. I want to kickstart this by just giving a shout out to all of my friends in Germany and Norway. Guys, I see you out there. My numbers are going up in Germany and Norway, and I couldn't be more excited. So thanks for listening, you guys. I also want to start today with a little disclaimer, because if you guys are out there thinking and saying, hey, this Jen on Halfway to Dead podcast is out telling everybody to do illegal substances. Cut that shit out. No, I am not. I am not. All right? Listen to the disclaimer at the end of the episode, and I'm going to give you a little bit of it right now. I am simply bringing you information so that you can learn and make conscious, educated decisions for your life. Okay? This is all for entertainment purposes. You don't have to do anything I'm talking about. But maybe you want to. Maybe this is for you. That's why I'm bringing all this to you guys. Okay, so disclaimer, not giving out medical advice, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Now that we got that paperwork out of the way, so today we're diving in a little bit more to the healing potential of psychedelic medicines and these psychedelic journeys as a part of your healing, your spiritual journey, using it therapeutically. Okay, we're not talking recreational here. We're talking therapeutically. So today I have with me Angela DeCraene. So Angela's an explorer at heart who approaches both life and work with deep curiosity. As an entrepreneur and a trained psychotherapist, currently completing her doctorate in integral and transpersonal psychology, she's researching the healing potential of psychedelic medicines. It's a work that bridges ancient wisdom with modern science. So Ange collaborates with both two-legged and four-legged friends in her work, and together, she and her partner in the deep work have developed a holistic preparation and integration model for psychedelic journeys. So you know who I'm talking about, her partner. If you don't, you need to go back and listen to episode 51 with Tammy Janelle. So they're both here with us today for this one. So we have some really great conversation, you guys. But Ange's passion really lies in helping people not just have transformative experiences, but meaningfully integrate those insights into their lives. So she self-describes herself as a forever student and a traveler. Angela is drawn to the big questions about consciousness, healing, and what it means to live fully. Whether she's working with clients in some capacity or exploring new frontiers, she's always seeking the deeper spaces where real transformation happens. So Ange, she shares her story of what brought her to where she is in her spiritual journey, how these psychedelics have helped her. And then she gets a little bit more because, you know, she is working in her doctorate in this. She's a smart little cookie. So she helps us understand exactly what, like the psilocybin specifically. We also talk a little MDMA, but specifically the psilocybin, what it's actually doing in your brain, how it's helping. We talk more about after a journey, how we need to care for ourselves in the weeks following. So we really just finish up giving you a whole view into psychedelic therapies, specifically psilocybin. And I hope you guys get more out of this. I learned even more this time too. Let's get in there because this is super interesting stuff. Okay, you guys, we're back. I promised you a part 2. You guys have already listened to Tammy's episode. And if you have not, you got to go back and listen to it. And today, Tammy's partner, Ange, is here. So you know, it's Angela, but we're all friends here today. You guys listening to us, we're calling her Ange. We're going Ange today. Okay. So we're going to get a little deeper into the psilocybin journey, psychedelic therapy practices, all of that with her. But first, I really want to just hear from her a little bit of her story. We love hearing the stories, right? You guys, it makes us feel less alone in our journey. So, hey, Ange.
Hey.
So I want to talk a little bit about your journey.
So I think, a fair starting point is my journey with faith and spirituality. It sounds like you've got some.
I do.
Some folks
I've talked to you guys all know I've talked about my religious deconstruction process that I'm still in. I don't know if we'll ever be done with it.
Yeah, right. So I grew up in an evangelical Christian household, both very involved in the church world, and they brought me up in a very, very strict and rigid religious home.
Mm-hmm.
So
I get it.
I was, raised in that environment. And when I was 17, I went with my church's youth group to South Africa on a mission trip.
Yep.
And kind of had my mind blown in a couple of ways and came home. So I finished high school and decided to take my first year off from going to college and do some traveling. So I ended up in South Africa again for a while, and then in Portugal and Spain. And in that 1 year of my life, my eyes just started to open up to, okay, there is a much greater world out here. And these values and views and beliefs that I grew up with just don't seem to hold everything that I'm experiencing.
Okay. So you were questioning your background.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think my questioning began at least in a noticeable way. And so I spent a good part of my late teens, early mid 20s, in a very active process with that, actually. I became really intrigued by other religions, other philosophical systems, and started to look at what is the golden thread that weaves through all of these. Because it started to become clear that in some way, all of these things are pointing to the same thing, but, people have put them into these boxes to try to, for a variety of reasons, but try to box in this one concept or these larger concepts that are shared by every major religion.
Yes.
By every,
more similarities than differences, I always say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're all fighting about some stupid stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And we want to religion creates a lot of division. There's a lot of, judgment and division in there. So I spent a lot of in college, I was taking, all of the spirituality and world religion classes I could possibly sink my teeth into.
You're learning all of these things, but you're still in a spiritual closet. You're not, your parents and the world is not knowing yet, or were you vocal about it?
I was vocal about the things I was questioning. There wasn't much space for it in my family or in that religious community. It was a lot of there was a lot of concern for me.
Oh, sure. A lot of praying for you, girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of prayer circles.
Be careful,
prayer lists.
Yeah. Come on over. We're going to lay our hands on you.
Oh, the laying of the hands.
I think that's a concept that's actually gotten stuck in religion in a way, because that was one of the first entry points to exploring this kind of golden thread. Was I went to a Reiki session. I went and had a session with someone who did Reiki. And as this person is putting their hands near or on my body, it clicked. I was like, wait a minute. This is the concept of putting your hands.
Right, transferring energy.
Yes, exactly. And when we could go on and on about this.
No, and that's the thing. There are so many similarities.
Yeah.
They call it something different in the church, but it's just all energy.
It's energy.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at what are described as the real teachings of Jesus,
he was a
very
mystic.
Metaphysical dude.
Very.
He was teached recently. I was listening to somebody who was talking about these real teachings of Jesus. And he pointed out a verse in the Bible that it had never caught my attention before, but it says something and Jesus went east to the east. And there are 8 or 13 years of his life. There's a big chunk of it.
It's a big chunk of his life
that is missing from any kind of documentation.
He was on a spiritual journey. That's what I think.
To the east is what the what the original document says, and so there's speculation.
He was hanging out in Egypt. Is what I heard.
He was. He was 13, and he went to the east. So in these in these years where
these
you're
missing
really
years.
learning and you're really forming your own practice, he's in Eastern cultures. He's in Buddhist and Taoist cultures where he is spending these, really formative years.
So when people are saying, well, Jesus said, do as I do.
Yeah.
Guys, we're on a spiritual journey. We are.
Yeah.
As I do. We're doing exactly as Jesus did. Tell me this. Was there a moment in your adult life when you were like, I'm not religious anymore. I don't consider myself a Christian. Technically, I am more open and my beliefs have shifted.
A moment that stands out to me was in my early 20s. I was in South Africa in a poverty alleviation village. I was volunteering there. And the folks who are running that village, and still do, are their family, and they're Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
And they are a safe haven. They're called Batsabello, which translates to safe haven, place of safety. They are a place of safety for any living creature, human and non-human, that needs a place to be safe. And I'm here on this village, and I'm just there to help. I'm just there to, participate in their project and what they're doing. And I'm in this deconstruction process. I'm like actively pulling things apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this moment. So this is a pivotal moment for me.
Okay.
This moment where I was like, there is just no way on the planet I can say that I follow a religion that says these people go to hell.
Yeah.
I cannot do that.
No.
There's just no way on the planet. And it didn't make and it wasn't like for a while, I went through a process of rejection for sure. I went through no. And then moved later into like a process of integration, pulling out the untruths of religion, but keeping what is actually the heart of these things that have been, layered over and over and over. But that was a moment where I was like, this is absolutely impossible. It is impossible. I cannot do that anymore.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your family said, cool.
I actually really never talked with my family. Like, as I started to just live in a way that was different, stopped attending church and stopped doing all of the things that went along with that. The community that I had formed, the larger community of friends and mentors, that started to, fall off. That is when it probably became a little more clear without me saying much at all that, okay, Ange is going in a different direction here.
Okay. Yeah. So it was obvious to everyone.
Oh, yeah. It was slowly, especially like my closest people, because my closest people were the people that I'm having these open conversations with and pulling this apart. And as much as they care about me and love me and knew that was always an aspect of my personality, is I'm going to dig in really, really deep and question and challenge and roll things around. So some people had a little more space for me than others. But for sure, when I reached a point of like, no, that is just not the path I follow, it was like a divorce. And also, I have never been more grateful for something in my life,
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
Yes. All right. So you just got done saying that you like to dig in. You like to dig in deep to stuff.
I do.
So it makes sense that you're a therapist.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we go to therapy for, is to dig in deep. So I would assume if you didn't like that, it would be a bad profession for you. So tell me about that part of the journey. Were you a therapist right away out of college?
No, not really. I thought I actually would go straight into a PhD program. I thought I would get my master's, go straight into a PhD program, and do research and teach at a university. But part of my master's program requirement was I had to do a practicum. So I needed to actually do
therapy,
counseling somewhere.
Counseling. Okay.
And it felt fine. I was like, okay, sure, I'll do that. Well, I had no idea how much I was going to love it. I actually was like, oh my gosh, this is very cool. Like, I'm loving getting in here and being with people in a very real way, which was like so critical at that juncture in my life, because I'm exploring the depths of myself, right? And all of these belief systems that I've been brought up in. And now I'm getting to sit with people in their truth, because people come to therapy typically to tell you their truth.
Yes. And work through the stuff.
Yeah, let's be together in our truth.
Yes.
And so it drew me in a way that I was surprised by. The further I got into just doing the therapeutic work, the more I fed that part of me that likes to learn. I just was diving into, modalities and learning the work in a deeper way,
I saw in your bio, you are going back for your
doctorate. I'm finishing it right now.
For doctorate in integral and transpersonal psychology.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
Tell everybody what that, I don't even know what that is.
So integral, like really the focus is on, like a holistic system, understanding the human as whole in ourselves and part of something holistic. And the transpersonal piece is the understanding of ourselves as something that's beyond just what you see, taste, touch, and feel,
Yeah. See on the person. Okay. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect fit. So I'm assuming through all of the 18 years of therapy, you've grown within that too. Currently, you implement a lot of different modalities that bring a little bit of that spiritual piece in. I know even when Tammy and I had talked, we talked about internal family systems you guys love to use. So maybe just educate us a little bit on what that means.
Sure.
Because when you hear internal family systems, you might go straight to what we think of as family systems. My brother, my sister, my mom, my dad. No, that's not what this family system is, right?
No, this is your own internal, like within ourselves. So the model, the theory essentially stipulates that we all have different parts of ourselves. So like if you think about just even the way you talk about yourself in your daily life, you might say, oh, part of me really wants to do that. Part of me is afraid to do that. We're always pointing to it in some way, shape, or form. And so the idea is that like we're born with different parts of ourselves, different aspects of what makes up who we are. And the model in a therapeutic way, the emphasis is on self-leadership.
Okay.
So the reason it works so well in the work that we do together is that we're holding space for people to really learn to connect with themselves more deeply.
Okay.
To connect with, your own self-leadership, your soul. You're not here to, learn from us, so to speak. We're here to help point you toward you. We're just assisting in a process of pointing you toward
in
you.
a spiritual woo-woo world, that would feel like your higher self.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like your soul, your higher self, you're connecting with that.
Well, I think what we have determined is that we don't say that self is the same as soul.
Okay.
Soul is something far beyond yourself. In the system of internal family systems, the designation of self can be very spiritual, but we are not calling that soul. We're not interchanging it. So like in internal family systems, that particular model utilizes the language of self-leadership.
Okay.
Right. And then you have parts of yourself. So I just want to make sure like the designation for us is in that model, it's self, but
it's
self is different than soul. The way I describe it in the devoted soul work is self holds the key to soul. Soul is the untouched, unburdened, unwounded.
Like when we head back to the other side.
Yeah.
That's our soul. We're connecting. We're back in our pure soul form. And then when we incarnate, I'm just spitballing here, you guys. I don't know what I'm talking about, everybody. I'm just trying to understand. So what I'm thinking is we return to the other side. We're in God's love. Okay. We are our complete soul again in that moment. But our self, our higher self, we're trying to tap into as humans in this incarnation. And our self, that's different. That's just in our human form.
Correct.
The connection we have.
Correct. I mean, you're manifest in this body, right? And so your self is part of your personality.
So when we're in these internal family systems, it's us understanding ourself. If I close my eyes and visualize, is this a little group? Like, here I am when I was 5. Let me talk to my 5-year-old. And now I need to talk to my teenager. And now I need to talk to my middle-ager. When we're visualizing things and working through things, that's part of it. Like, what do we need to tap into today?
For sure. And like our parts often will show up somatically. So when I'm doing a session, I usually am starting with, feeling into your body. What part of you needs your attention today? And often when you really kind of quiet and tune in and you just get curious, which the self-energy concept is understood by the guy who developed this model. His name is Dick Schwartz, and he developed the 8 C's of self-energy. And so there are things like compassion and curiosity and calm. And so when you can connect with that state, it's like that state of being calm and curious. There's no agenda. When you connect with that state of being, that state of self, then parts of you that are ready to maybe connect and need some attention from you begin to show up. And they will show up maybe as a felt sense, or maybe as an image or a message, or there's so many ways that they can pop up.
So it's about different aspects of yourself. I guess we have versions of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we need to do work on a certain version.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go in any way that's, everything can be a trailhead in. So if you showed up today, if we were doing work together today and you showed up and you said, I would need to connect with the parent part of me.
Yeah.
Then that would be the way in.
That would be the way in. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does this method differ from more mainstream, I guess, type of therapies?
Yeah. It's much more like the connection is between you and yourself and your parts versus you and a therapist. So in my work, my clients aren't coming in and just like telling me the problems of their week and we're just talking about the problems of their week. They might come in with, okay, this happened this week and it was really difficult. Okay, we're now going to work between
We're going to dig deeper into that. Yeah. We're not just going to talk back and forth.
Focused on helping a person create a deep sense of trust and reliance on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's a tool and a strategy. It's a way of working that when you walk out of the therapy office, you are able to connect with yourself in that way in your own home. You know what I mean? Like in your daily life. So it's less reliant on the therapist. It's much more it's much more a way. It's like teaching a way.
A way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this modality blends well with spirituality.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cause we're on spiritual journeys here.
Yeah.
So, and love me some traditional therapies, you guys out there. But like I said before, when you're ready to step it up, when you're ready to dig deeper, when you get to that point in your life where I got to make some effing changes, because things aren't going well.
Yeah.
I can't keep the status quo going. This seems like a good route to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys have teamed up.
We have.
Okay. Because you're business partners.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I had to clarify that because when you first started calling your partner, I didn't know what the deal was.
Oh. Well, I do love you too.
I love you too.
Because in my world, a lot of times your partner in life, your lover.
Sure.
I don't know, guys.
Right.
So just to clarify, when I keep saying this is Tammy's partner,
Business partner.
We're
also very good friends.
and good friends.
For sure.
Okay.
We're partners.
All right. Let's dig into what you guys do together. So you guys know Tammy, if you haven't listened, got to go back. But if you haven't listened, we talked about, I had my soul reading with Tammy. One of the first stages of heading into this journey, if you're, trying to dig deep and really get there. And part of it is working towards these psychedelic therapy journeys. There are different things you can take, right? You guys focus on psilocybin.
I think when you and I spoke last time, mentioned we started with MDMA.
Mm-hmm.
Ange came into this originally and sort of brought it back to our tribe here. And we started working with the MDMA. We moved toward psilocybin as it is a traditional, it's, a fungus.
Yes.
Right? Plant medicine. It's more natural,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the MDMA is pharmaceutical.
Yeah, it's synthetic.
And also the coming out of that medicine, you're pretty grounded.
Okay.
Right after the session, whereas that isn't really the case for MDMA. Sometimes we've had
There's
people,
more to it. Yeah.
lag for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
okay.
having
Yeah.
your feet on the ground a couple weeks after
Mm-hmm.
the active session, right? For us, it feels safer.
So back it up. So Andrew, what made you bring this to everybody? You brought this to the group is what I'm hearing. And so what went down that made you bring this to all your friends, your people, your tribe?
Okay. So the short backstory is I found this documentary probably 12 years ago now. It was about DMT, which is one of the active ingredients in ayahuasca, or at least one of the plants that is part of the ayahuasca brew. It increases DMT. It has DMT in it. So you're consuming DMT.
Yeah.
They're talking about it from the perspective of it being a spiritual molecule. So I'm stumbling on this documentary. I don't know what it's about, but I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is about psychedelics. Mm-hmm. And it's about psychedelics as a spiritual gateway, like a way into deeper spirituality. So I was instantly very curious and started going down my own little rabbit hole.
Yes.
What is this? I had never had any personal experiences with psychedelics. So I was only learning about it from watching and reading things. And then fast forward, I was actually at a Brene Brown training and I meet this woman there who within 15 minutes of meeting each other, we were already like telling each other our life stories.
Yeah,
we
you
were
just
like,
knew. You were connected.
We were like instantly
You
connected.
have soul contract or something.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Something for sure there. We're there for a week doing this training and, got to know each other really well. Well, she lives up in the Vancouver area. So when we finished the training, we were like, well, when are we going to visit each other? So long and the short of it, we became really good friends. And about a year after I met her, she calls me up one day and she's like, hey, Ange, I want to talk to you about something, but I'm not sure how you're going to feel about it. So if you can just like have an open mind, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to have an therapeutic MDMA session next month. And would you come up and sit for me? Would you come participate? And I was literally like jumping up and down in my house because I was like, you have no idea that this is my secret area of interest. You know? So fast forward, I fly up the next month, get to sit in the room for her experience. And just being a person sitting in the room was miraculous.
I'm going to guess that the energy rippling off that person is filling the room. Like, because we are all energy, right? So you don't even have to be on the journey to feel the journey in the room. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is something really, really special and really hard to describe what that feels like. So she has this really amazing experience and the journey took her to a really deep-rooted place within herself that like there were a lot of revelations for her and she's also a therapist. She had already been doing lots of her own work.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But there was more in there.
Oh, yeah. And so she got to something within herself that had been packed and tucked away real tight, really mind-blowing. So maybe like 2-3 months later, I was like, can I come do my own session?
Yeah.
So they were connected with the trials out of the University of British Columbia. There were trials happening there with MDMA. So flew up, had my own session and was completely blown away. Come home and I'm like, Tam, we got to talk.
We got to actually get some journeys going.
Because of the work I had previously done with Tammy, like just in my own spiritual journey and with her work, my friend had told me prior to going, you're going to want somebody to help you integrate this. And I was like, who's that going to be? And I was like, it's going to be Tam. Tam's going to help me integrate this.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect match. I mean, when I started talking about what had happened in that experience and what was still happening even in the days to come, it aligned so perfect. Like we aligned so perfectly in that way. And that was it.
In your journey, so you got me curious. Can you share just one thing that came out of your journey that left you thinking, I have to share this with the world?
My sessions actually there's been a presence of past life.
Okay. Yeah.
Like stuff that has come up in there. And my very first session was so vivid and vibrant. It was like I was exactly there. It was once the medicine kicked in and I'm in my eye shades and my headphones. The first visual I saw, I had this moment of feeling like, oh my God, what am I doing? I've just ingested.
Yeah. Little moment of fear, regret as you head in.
Yeah. And I'm up in like Vancouver in the woods in an Airbnb with two people that
you kind of knew, but
kind of know.
Yeah.
I felt like I really knew one, but regardless, like this moment kicks in, right? And I'm not kidding you. I'm behind the eye shades and the music is going and I feel the fear, like it caught me. And I could see the room in my mind's eye, but it felt very vivid, like the room I was actually in. I'm in eye shades, so I can't see the room, but I see the room and I see my two sitters in their chairs just beyond the bed I was laying in. And behind them pops up, I had never seen this before in my life until that day, these enormous angelic like beings. Like they were like 12 feet tall. Pops up behind these two women. And instantly it was like, you're good. You're safe. You are protected.
Yeah.
And I can still see that visual. Once that happened, I dropped in another layer into the experience. And I was literally like transported. I could see my feet. I could feel the ground beneath me. I could see everything around me. And I was in a jungle in Asia. And I didn't know at that time what was happening, but I was reconnecting with a past life experience.
Okay.
And the things that I was learning in there gave me information about my experiences in this life that I could never understand. Like things that I could not find my way with, struggles, things I would come up against that I could not find my way with.
So what would you say to the person who's listening right now who's like, whatever, she has a really good imagination. She's creative.
Oh, maybe.
But does it even matter, essentially? If you come out of an experience feeling elevated and resolve about some things, whatever, does it even matter? I mean, I don't think we need to argue about these things, but I'm just thinking of someone listening right now who's thinking, I'm still not sold.
Yeah.
And you may not be in the right place. If you're not sold on this, it's not the right timing for you. And that's okay too.
To me, it's like the experience of like eating a really juicy piece of fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of your senses are engaged in that. So you are feeling it on all of your human levels with all of your senses. That is such an experience that you can't deny that. You can't deny such a deeply felt experience as the experiencer.
Yes. Yes.
It was, Tammy and I always say that there's just stuff you can't make up. There's stuff that comes up in these places that's like, I cannot make that shit up.
No. And if I was making
imagination I would never be able to.
That's what I say.
Right.
Some even just in some meditations, when I've had things come up, I'm like, not in a million years would I've planned to visualize that.
That's my whole work. We talked about that last time. When you're going into these sessions in an altered state, you're experiencing soul's language. So you have to understand that there could be the way soul is talking to you about your current life, could be a past life coming to you. And in that particular situation, she felt it so deeply that she just knew.
Yeah, there's just no denying it. Yes.
And you can't really sell someone on that because you just have to experience that.
You got to feel it for yourself.
Yeah. And so there has to be a level of trust that when you go into these altered states, you're going to have an experience. And whether you come out of that experience saying that was soul's language, similar to maybe how you experience a dream versus, wow, that really happened to me in my soul's journey, you have to just experience that yourself.
Because when you're saying soul's language, you're not in these experiences and someone just sits down in front of you and tells you all the things in English like you can understand. Or do they? Sometimes does someone just plop a squat and tell you some things?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You had a really cool experience with your gram.
Yes, I did.
Sitting down at a table.
Oh, did she sit down with you?
Yeah, you literally described what happened.
Yeah.
Sit down at a table.
Yeah.
And told you some
literally
things.
said, let me
show
tell
you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you some things. I'm getting the chills, you guys. I think I'm going to have to do this. Anyway, so I got people I need to talk to. You've brought this back. Tammy heard you say, we got to do this MDMA thing, girl. And you were on board. You were like, okay. No, you weren't on board yet.
No, another one of our people took it first.
Okay.
And I sat.
Because you explained to us you sat, and after you saw her experience, you're like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, it took me a while.
But you were open to teaming up in this thing.
Absolutely.
You didn't know if you were going to do it yet,
100%.
but you were open to sitting and helping do this integration and prep work and all of that. Yeah. All right. So then all of a sudden you're like, maybe there's something better than MDMA. When did we make the switch to psilocybin?
Well, I remember that fateful day.
I remember very well.
Okay. All right. What was that day like, guys? When did the psilocybin roll in?
Jen, I took one for the team that day.
Did you? You were like, I'll try something different.
Remembering this correctly, the reason we decided that you would take one for the team is because someone came to us and said, I really want to have an experience, but I'd really like to work with psilocybin.
Correct.
Okay.
And we had not done it ourselves. Yeah. And for us, that felt important that we understood the feeling of it. How it
So you started doing a deep dive, I'm sure, on psilocybin at that moment. Yeah. And then you're like, all right, I'm in. I'll be the one to take it first.
Yeah.
Okay. And you did the MDMA too. Was the experience very similar? Was it different?
So in the beginning, the psilocybin was wildly different. It was a wildly different experience for me personally.
Okay. Different how?
MDMA is, for me, I say it feels like I'm going home.
Okay.
It's very universal. It feels universally loving.
Okay.
It really is like love. There's like a whole component of love and how you are viewing your world and your experiences. And the psilocybin for me in that moment was a little harsher, a little rough around the edges in its lessons and how it taught me certain things. It was a little more earthy of an experience. But now, over a period of 5 years, I feel like the two are, for me, feel more similar.
More similar now. It feels like you can integrate back into the real world quicker.
Yeah.
You're grounded faster.
Yeah.
What's going on? What exactly?
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Explain to us exactly what, all right, we're taking it, we're ingesting it. Yeah. What exactly is it doing to our body, our brain?
So MDMA has been like a lot of the research at the beginning with MDMA. It's like moving in different directions now, but it was for folks with PTSD.
Okay.
Because what MDMA does is it goes in and it shuts down or really dials down the fear centers in the brain.
Okay.
So like that amygdala that sends us into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it quiets that all down. So it allows a person to go into territories that are very...
You'd normally be too scared.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it also increases our feel-good chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, oxytocin. So it puts most people in a state where there's sort of this like universal feeling
of love and like, acceptance.
Yeah,
and
there's
safety.
a lot of space.
Okay.
You know, it's not to say that every experience is this like deeply loving and amazing thing. It's
no, but you feel safe enough to have those experiences.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It removes the guard from the door so you can get in and get into some deeper places and have the capacity to be with the deeper part, you know, deep things that have been kind of tough.
And feel a sense of sometimes reconciliation.
Yeah.
Where when you're out here, you can't get there. You can't find the forgiveness for yourself. You can't find the forgiveness for others. Where in that space, you can experience what it feels like to deeply forgive yourself, forgive others, deeply love someone. You get a benchmark for what that feels like inside of that space so that you can do that more practically out here.
Yeah.
And then for psilocybin, what's it doing? Same thing, or is it a little bit different?
It's a little bit different. So it's like, it's connecting to what's called the 5-H2A receptor. That's the receptor site in the brain that is activated and connected when you consume one of the classic psychedelics. Like it's putting, you know, you're kind of going into like an expanded state of consciousness. So when you look at like an fMRI, when someone is under the influence of psilocybin in particular, networks in the brain that don't typically communicate are connecting and communicating in what's called the default mode network. So that's our way of being right now. We all have like kind of a certain automated way that we...
Our day-to-day life, this is how we function.
Yeah, and these are my beliefs and, you know, these are the ways that I think about things. That default mode network goes offline.
Okay.
And then parts of the brain that don't typically communicate are communicating.
Okay. So we're breaking down our own barriers in our brain so that we can just talk with whoever we want to.
These more connected experiences, like connecting the dots between things that our brain isn't allowing us to do when that default mode network is like activated, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so a lot of medications that people are on for on a regular basis for mental health issues, albeit anxiety, whatever you got going on, guys, depression, bipolar, whatever's going on for you. Is there a contraindication there if someone is already on medications?
Yeah. So like in the current research, like there is any of the trials are with any of these medicines are going to like wave a red flag if somebody has had what would be deemed in Western medicine as a psychotic disorder or a bipolar 1 disorder, which is like, you know, a Western frame if you're looking at that Western medical lens, which the trials are pulling from both, from these Western medical lenses and also from, you know, indigenous ways of working with these medicines. Those disorders, and I don't really love this language, but those are contraindications. And also SSRIs are a contraindication, particularly for MDMA, because that serotonin dump is pretty huge. So if you're already on a medication that is increasing serotonin,
it could be too much.
It could be too much. Yeah.
Okay. And that's MDMA. But when we're talking psilocybin, is that the same, or do we need more research on that?
Psilocybin, it's actually really safe. So if someone is taking an SSRI, it's safe in this regard. Like if someone's taking an SSRI, their experience might just be a little more blunted.
Okay.
But in terms of the toxicity that can happen with MDMA, there's nothing that's pointing to that as a risk in the research currently.
Okay.
What's really tends to be, the biggest concern is the mindset of the person going into these spaces and their capacity to hold the information or the experiences that are had in these expanded states. So it's more psychological or spiritual than it is physical.
Because two different people could be on the same medications with the same diagnosis.
Yeah.
And one has done no work, no spiritual journey, no therapy, no digging in, nothing.
Yeah.
Right? They're probably not ready for something like this. They've got a lot of work to do before you get there.
Yeah.
Now, same person, same medications, same diagnosis, could have been working in the spiritual journey, is open already, has done some work, has pulled things up, almost like during your soul readings, has pulled some things up, done the internal family systems work, all of that. That same person might be ready for a journey. So there's no clear-cut answer to this. It's something that you just have to experience for yourself. You have to start down this spiritual journey road. Yeah. And I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you either are on that road or you're hoping to start that direction. Okay. So that's why I'm bringing this stuff to you guys, so you can learn about it. You might not be ready for it right now, but a year from now, 2 years from now, you may think back to this and be like, I think I'm ready for that. Okay. Because if you would have told me all this stuff 2, 3, 4 years ago, I'd have been like, hell's no. I don't know, I can't, I'm not open enough for all of that. But now I'm in the place where I'm like, okay, no, I'm kind of excited and tingly to get in there and feel the things and clarify things that I can't get to on my own. I can meditate as deep and hard as I can try, right? And I know you're not supposed to try hard to meditate, but you know what I mean, you guys. You can try and get as deep as you can. I'm probably not going to get there. I'm just not, because like you said, parts of my brain aren't going to communicate with other parts of my brain without a little help. Oh, okay. So there are contraindications. Are there anything else we need to consider before we head down one of these journeys? We got to do the work, basically, right? This is not a quick fix, you guys. This isn't, I'm broken. No. I'm going to go on a psilocybin journey and I'm going to be fixed. No. That's not what this is. No.
I mean, it's a commitment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think too, we do believe that the medicine gives you what you are ready for. Mm-hmm. But also in that is the responsibility to hold that with a sacredness. You were given this information and now we need to really work that and keep that going, keeping the integration going.
Because just like with meditation, or if you go get readings, I don't think that spirit is going to present you with anything you're not prepared to handle.
Correct.
Because it's all just love on the other side, is my thought. And so nobody on the other side, whether it's your angels, your spirit guides, it's your higher self, it's source, is going to lead you in a harmful direction. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be a good experience, but it will be one I think that you're ready for, right? You're ready to do the work, or it won't be presented to you. Because people get nervous even getting psychic readings and that, like, are they going to tell me I'm going to die soon? No. Because the only things that'll come forward are things that you're meant to hear now, where you're at in your life now, to help you move forward. So I'm assuming with a journey, it's probably the same thing.
Yeah, this kind of brings up an interesting thing where Ange and I heard, when you do these journeys, then you have these critical periods open up. Mm-hmm. So explain that a little bit, because I think that's really important in how you tend to the information that you're getting in the active session.
Yeah. This lab that's doing the research that this information is coming out of, it's called Fathom Lab. The woman who's leading that research, her name's Gul Dolan. She gave MDMA to an octopus, which are typically like very antisocial animals by nature. They just kind of keep to themselves.
Okay. Yep.
And that when an octopus was given MDMA, they became social. The way she describes it is like this, they're like dancing around in their tanks and looking for other to interact. She took the research further and started to give psychedelics, everything from non-classics like ketamine, which is, currently FDA approved.
Yes.
MDMA, psilocybin, there's a couple others, giving these psychedelics to mice. And what they're looking at is when consuming these medicines, what is reopened are these critical periods of learning. So if you think of it like they're social critical periods, early stages 0 to 2 years old when we're bonding. That's considered a critical period. So they're critical periods of learning where everything that's happening in and around you is so enhanced. It's
like you said, like a little kid that's learning language and movement and social skills all at the same time. They're very open.
It's reopening these critical periods.
Okay.
And so we were listening to an interview with this woman who's doing this research. And she talked about how, this is giving us information about the days and weeks following a psychedelic journey to be aware that these critical periods are being reopened. So we need to treat ourselves during, the days and weeks to follow like a 4-year-old, like a 6-year-old in terms of the kind of tenderness you have.
Because you're opening and it doesn't close at the end of your journey.
No, it's open.
You're open now for how long do you think?
So what the research is indicating is that these critical periods are open for each hour that you are in the psychedelic experience equates to 1 week of that critical period being open. So like in an MDMA experience, which is anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, that's 6 to 8 weeks of.
You got a couple months you're open.
Yeah, you're really vulnerable.
Which also, we think about who are you going to be with? Yeah. Not only how are you tending to yourself during those weeks to follow, but what situations are you putting yourself in and the mindset you're going back to your life in, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you're really malleable in that time. Yeah. So it's like, okay, there's so much intention that's required.
So it sounds like timing of your psilocybin journey is very important. So you're looking at potentially up to a couple months where you're open and whatever you're doing is going to change you. And that could be good or bad. What would be an example of doing it at the wrong time? Have you seen anything that would be bad to be around or to do in your life in that integration period? Because we can't just vacation for 2 months, right? Do we not want to make big decisions for those 2 months?
Something that comes up actually in the trials is something that has come up as this research has, been unfolding is the potential that exists for someone to come in. Like this is just an example. Like say someone's in an abusive relationship and the one individual in that relationship is ready to dig in and make some changes, but they're going right back home to that environment. There's risk,
Yeah.
There's risk.
Okay. So if you're planning to make big changes in your life, and I'm talking about a divorce or something like that, would you say a journey is better to do after you've made that big move? Or do some people need the journey to make that big move?
Some people need the journey
to make that big move. It's about support.
It's about support. And number one, recognizing that is what is occurring. I don't think we've grown a lot in our own way of, creating this particular model of guiding and supporting people. So just having that knowledge that is important. That's just important. You have an awareness of that's what you're going through. That's what's occurring in your
Just bringing an awareness to it is going to help you through it anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. All right. So it's about the people and experiences you surround yourself with while you're integrating.
You said support.
Someone that you can.
Sure you
and
have
everything
someone.
you consume, media, everything you're taking in.
Yeah. Turn off the damn news for 8 weeks.
100%.
We should probably do without a journey, but especially then, is there ever during a journey a bad trip? Is there ever, you get to a point during the psilocybin journey where things are going a little too much? There's a little too much. Is there a way to deal with it? Or is that just having good sitters?
I had what I might consider a bad trip, but it was the most transformative thing that ever occurred, right?
Yes.
So in the moment, it was very challenging, but I had good people around me.
And that integration afterwards.
And the integration afterwards. It was huge. Sometimes you got to stir the pot.
Mm-hmm. Listen, there's a lot of stir in the pot. Midlife is what I'm learning.
I know.
And I tell you guys, listen, I tell you all the time, like there's a lot of work to be done and it's not pretty.
No.
I'm sorry. But the other side's better and it's necessary, but it's not great. Like you're going to be in a bad spot here and there. It's okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about it like, it's just almost like a septic tank in a way. Really.
Mm-hmm.
I got all that
sludge.
Crap.
Yeah. You got to get it pumped.
And it's down on the bottom, you gotta get that stirred up in order to clean it out and clear it out.
Because I think a lot of times we get to midlife with this whole analogy and the toilet's clogged.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not flushing anymore.
Nope.
We got no choice but to pump the old sewer.
Can I just say one thing? As we're talking about that analogy, is like one of the things we love about the psilocybin mushroom is in and of itself a fungus, right? So its purpose in the world is to compose what has decayed.
Yeah.
So within us at midlife, we have a lot of decay. We have a lot of things that are just sitting in there and stagnant.
Just weighing us down.
Yeah. And that is one of the things we say about the mushroom.
Historically, because we didn't just come up with this psilocybin use mushroom things, right? This is ancient.
Yeah, I mean, it goes way back. I mean, there's like
further back than we can probably even think of.
Yeah, there's a lot of it is theoretical, like there's a mushroom carved into this ancient pot found, that's 1,000 years old. There's lots of stuff.
Because medicinally, way before we had big pharma, we had our plants, you guys.
Yeah.
And we were healing stuff.
For sure.
And we had healers in every generation that were passing this down. And then I don't know what the hell happened, but we stopped passing it down. Yeah. Religion and politics exploded, the two together. And all of a sudden we threw out all of the things we already knew to be true and to work. So I think we're maybe turning a corner.
Yeah. It's like we've everything was colonized. So it was like the colonialization of medicine even, so out with the old and in with the things that, are marketable.
Exactly. And so for you, if you're where I am and you're in your midlife spiritual journey, you're starting to break free from all these rules anyway, you guys, right? We've gotten to the point where we're like, no, every pill my doctor gives me isn't the answer. And I know this because I've done it, right? I've tried the pills. I've tried the things that the traditionally trained Western med doctors have told me to do, and it's not working. So we start expanding our mind a bit. And that's where these modalities can come in. Okay. Is it addictive? Technically, no. Okay. No, this isn't, you're not going to do one psilocybin journey and be calling your provider, your whoever did this for you, like, I got to do it again. You're not going to want to do this on the daily, you guys.
No. Hell no.
Oh, heck. You got to do some integrating and other things. And how often do people do these journeys? Is it a one and done for a lot of people? Or is it a once, what feels like a schedule that, because you don't want to do it once a week, probably.
No.
Because you're opening while you're still open. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could, but
you don't want to bypass the integration, It's such an individual experience. Like the trials with MDMA, there is a protocol established, particularly for PTSD. So the PTSD protocol for MDMA is 3 active sessions within 6 months. And between, so it's about every 6 weeks. There's an active medicine session. And in between there, you're
integration work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've all experienced that. We are doing it in that way.
So what I'm getting is it's very individualized. Yeah. You guys, as you're listening, there's no one way to do this thing right. It just depends on, that's why the pre-work, guys, we got to do the work ahead of time so that someone does know how to guide us properly.
For sure.
Because,
Yeah. And this is all right now. It's all as this is moving toward, FDA approval, it's all part of what's called a harm reduction model. So each individual person is making a choice for themselves around this, right? So if you chose, hey, I'd really like to have an experience, you're making that decision. You're likely, if you're going to work within a harm reduction model, you're going to seek someone who has experience with this, and you're asking them to participate with you in a process that keeps you safe, first and foremost, and then that really supports you and really gaining something from the experience versus just having an experience.
Yeah, because again, just like I said during Tammy's interview, this isn't recreational that we're talking about here. This is with a very specific purpose in mind for therapeutic reasons. This isn't just a sit by the river and do some shrooms for fun.
Right.
All right. Again, if you're doing that, I'm not judging you, but that's not what we're talking about here. Okay. That's you do you out there. But I'm just saying, if you're in a spiritual journey right now and you've got some shit coming up you got to deal with, right? And in regular therapy might not be cutting it for you. Again, love my therapists out there. But if you're feeling like you need more than just that weekly, let's talk about my life, let's talk about where I'm at, and you're feeling stuck, because I've been in that place in regular therapy where you're like, I feel like I'm just coming and saying the same shit every week and I'm getting nowhere fast, cool, it's covered by my insurance, but it's doing nothing. Okay. So that's when we start looking out and say, hey, you know what? I need some different modalities going on here. Yeah. And that's when you start expanding. And your therapist, if they truly have your best intent in mind, they're going to be okay with you spreading your wings a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're hitting it well with them, they're hitting it with you too. And that's not helpful for anyone. As a therapist, would you say that's true?
For sure. Yeah. There's a point in which, if someone is just not getting to where they wish to be getting to, it's time to change it up.
And that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good. That's progress. Actually, like even for a therapist, that's progress for you to be awake enough to know that you need a change.
Yeah.
So how long your journey is based on probably two-part. How your body reacts, because that'll be different for everyone. Is it also dose reliant?
It's important to say that we don't make any decisions for people.
We do not.
We're talking, the person is coming to us and saying, I want to have an experience and I would like your support so I can have that experience in a safe and held way, So we don't dictate or make decisions for folks.
No. All right. So I've come to you and I'm saying, I want to have a journey. I want to have this experience. When it comes to that day and decisions are being made, walk me through what's that look like? Because you're saying you don't make decisions for me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much damn shroom to take. I don't know enough about it.
There's a lot of research out there. So anyone could just go on, some valid websites and look and see. There's things there's doses called a museum dose, which is a well-documented. You take about this amount of psilocybin and you could still walk around a museum and everything's going to, look and feel really cool. So that gives you some information about, how deep you're going to go based on,
We're going to talk about what kind of journey I'm looking for maybe, right? How deep I want to go, how vivid things need to be. So I could say, I'm looking for a really elevated experience, guys. I don't want to just colors to be more vibrant and stuff. I want to go talk to grandma. Okay. What?
We also, sometimes guide people on their own intuitive connection to the mushroom. And that,
in the pre-work.
Or
that morning.
We've done the pre-work in the pre-work, the morning of sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Where you would guide someone to drop in meditatively and make those decisions.
Correct.
Okay. So you could drop in and say,
we do some muscle testing also with dosage. If you come to a number. And
what is this muscle testing? Hold on, back it up. You can just throw up muscle testing. What is that? Is this where you're holding your arm up kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So this dude that I just interviewed, I don't think Daryl's coming up, you guys, but shout out Daryl, was telling me that he had this done in this therapy with this shaman. And it was like he was holding his arm up and would talk about things and it would drop when it got to whatever. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Tell me more. I got to hear more about this though. What is this muscle testing we're doing?
Well, we're definitely not experts at this by any means, but it is a tool to validate your own intuition. And we, if somebody picks a dose through their intuitive meditative process,
it's like just getting a response from something beyond this, the mind,
So it's like our subconscious coming through our muscles as we're talking. So I'm holding my arm out and I'm saying, I want 1 milligram. No, I want 2 milligrams. Is my arm going to drop when I'm at the right milligram? Is this what we're saying? Is it that literal or not really?
It's like a tension. It doesn't necessarily
Well, it's just drop, but like you're going to feel like a little bit of movement in it.
It's a very subtle process. It's
okay.
It in and of itself is intuitive of a process for the person who's, doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we work with people so that they feel in control of what they're choosing.
Because we are in control.
It's self-leadership.
So decisions are made, but not by you two. The individual will make all their own decisions.
Right.
Okay. Even if you walk in that room and you're dropping and you're like, not today.
Yep.
I can't do it. You have every right to get up and say, not today. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Whichever your direction you're led. This is not some weird culty thing is what I'm trying to say. You're in control and it's just a part of your journey and your experience. And if you do one and you feel good with it, you may never do another one again. You may 6, 8 weeks later, 1 year later say, I'm ready for another one. I'm going to up my dose. Okay.
Yeah.
There are testing kits that you can purchase online.
Oh, perfect.
To, if someone is accessing a plant or substance, one of your listeners are accessing for themselves, you can buy at a very good price. There's actually a website called the Fireside Project.
Okay.
It's a really excellent resource for finding testing kits. Good. They're cheap. You just order them and it's going to let you know, like if there's anything in the substance.
Okay. Does this work for a lot of different things? So a lot of different plants, because some people are scared that it got laced with something a little different.
It's important, actually. It's
Very
really important.
So if you're doing this journey, whoever you're doing it with, it might be worth getting a kit so that you can go in with that confidence that you're only getting psilocybin. It has not been laced with anything. It feels more regulated that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like that.
Safety.
That's safety. And it gives you a little bit of peace of mind going into it too, because I wouldn't even everybody was doing the old cannabis on the streets back in the day. Not me. I was too scared it was going to be laced with something. I'm not buying anything from a guy on a corner. This is what I'm okay. So I didn't do any of that. But the minute it was more dispensary, legal, regulated, testing, I felt better about it and then I could do it. So this feels like the same thing with the psilocybin, right?
Standard rule of thumb, you want to do your stuff.
Anything going in the body really needs checked.
For sure.
Are there any other tips you're thinking? That was a good one. What else?
If if one of your listeners are looking to have an experience and they want to have a well-held, guided, or, just have sitters, there are folks all over who are doing this kind of work, And when you're meeting with someone to discuss what this looks like, there should be an emphasis on someone's own ability to make their own decisions. There should be a sense of this being not a prescribed thing,
Correct.
but, you're making a choice. This is something that you feel called to. There's any feeling of pressure or like a way that it has to be done or certain things that have to be done, which is different from a protocol. We've developed a protocol that
right.
is for our preparation and integration purposes, but there should be a lot of autonomy in these kinds of places.
In your choices.
Yes.
In your choices.
And if anybody out there has already done they kind of willy-nilly did. Okay. They did their own psilocybin journey, MDMA, something. They got a hold of it. They did it. They didn't integrate. And they're feeling a little lost now. They don't know what's happening. What would you say to that person?
Give us a call.
You need
That's right.
You've got
Get
to
your
integrate.
Integration going. Yeah.
You've got to integrate. Because you talked about you have a client that has gone and done ayahuasca and that in other countries, but still comes back to you to integrate and continue with the journey process. Okay. So phase 1, meeting up with someone, talking it through, getting a soul reading, getting going on the journey. Phase 2 is what?
Phase 2, we would say that the minimum of 3 preparatory sessions will include a soul reading, and then we'll include a session with Ange on doing internal
family work. systems. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a full grasp of that before you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we collaborate with each person is so individual.
Mm-hmm.
What, some people come in with a lot more experience. Some people come in having done the IFS work already.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Then
It just depends where you're at.
What would be the next step for this person? So then there's 3 or more preparations.
And then you're going to do your journey. What is the commitment you really need to make in your mind for the after work?
So 3 additional integration sessions.
3 more integrations, which are what, weekly-ish?
Weekly would be great, but sometimes depending on what
every other week, whatever you can.
period is for that person.
Yeah.
If they've had a 6-hour journey, maybe it's 6 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. It probably has to do with how long it lasted.
Yeah. Which will include the exact same things. Maybe not a soul reading, but some energy work, doing some clearing, keeping the energy moving and flowing, some meditation work, and then more IFS.
How do you know when your journey's over? If you hit 3 hours, do things change? If you go all the way to 8, like when do you really know someone's coming back out of their journey? Is there indications? Is there a way we act or do you just all of a sudden say like, I'm feeling pretty normal, guys?
Yeah.
You just know.
Especially with the psilocybin.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, I think I'm done. You just know.
Oh, you're just all of a sudden like things feel normal. Colors are normal again. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of, you just feel yourself sort of, in my experiences, I just sort of feel myself return to
okay, you just kind of feel it.
Sort of more.
Because you're in past
regulated
lives and doing
state of
things,
mind.
and all of a sudden you're back in the room.
And also the fun thing to mention at that point is sometimes throughout the journey, you will feel like you're done, but it's
a wave.
It's
a
wave.
fresh wave.
Yeah,
Okay.
like we call it the room. You're coming out of a room. So through an 8-hour session, you might be in 5 rooms. So at 5 different points, you kind of feel like, oh, is this over? No, it's not over.
You're done with that part of the journey, maybe.
Correct. And
like
then you go
maybe you're in
into
a past
another.
life. Is that what you're saying? I'm in this past life.
Maybe.
Then you come out of that and you think, oh, I'm done. No, I'm not. And you're heading a new place, the next place you were meant to go.
Yeah.
Correct. And so toward the end, I mean, time does help gauge, but also there is a sense of now I'm really done. I'm really
Okay. Like I feel
done.
complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
I
done.
feel complete. That's a good word.
And again, you're going to get guided through these rooms
Yeah.
as you were meant to. There's no one in control of this. You're not being guided to the different rooms by your sitters and really by your own little brain. You're being guided by, my belief, is your spirit team is going to take you based on your intention for that journey. You're going to get guided the right direction.
Your intentions are part of what, helps you stay on
course.
the track,
Yeah.
and when we're working together, if I'm losing sight a little bit, where am I, Tam, what am I doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Aunt, remember
what?
this is what you said you wanted to do. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
That makes sense because I would think during a jury review, all of a sudden be like, the F am I doing?
Correct.
Sure. Yep.
Absolutely say that at some
Yeah,
point.
like what in the hell was I thinking? Why am I here again?
Yep.
And then that's why it's important to be with people who can say, remember. This is why you're here. And then you go, oh, and then you can relax into the journey again. Yeah.
And this is why being able to have a sitter, is a super valuable thing to have.
If you start to think, what the fuck, and you're by yourself outside, oh no, that's a bad idea. Who knows? This is a fear people probably have. And then what? I go jump in the damn river and die? Yeah. This is what goes through my head. I got to have a sitter because I don't want to make bad decisions. Yeah. You don't want to make poor decisions, life-changing decisions during a journey. Because I think we go back to movies we've seen where people are tripping out and jumping off buildings and stuff. No, I can't do any of that. Yeah. So everyone listening, if you're close to my age, you probably have some of those fears, right? Just because we've already been groomed by movies, media, everything around us to fear these things because they're not really depicted as beautiful things. Usually in the movies, it's scary. Yeah. You're getting scared straight out there. Yeah. All right. No, but I'm done. I'm done being straight now. That didn't sound right. But anyway, I'm more open now to all these things. Okay. I don't need any outside people telling me what's right for me anymore. That's where I'm at. And which is like you guys said, you're not telling people what to do. I'm going to come tell you what I'm going to do. And you're going to go, okay, maybe we should meditate on that a little more. That sounds a little high for a dose. I could roll I didn't want 50 mgs. And they're like, we should probably meditate a little more. You might need a couple more sessions before we do this. I love that we're in control because I always say, you're in control of your own life. If you don't like something, you can change it. And it won't be easy, but you can change it. Yeah. This is just another modality, you guys, for your spiritual journey, wherever you're at. You might not be ready for it now. You might just be listening to this episode, just interested in hearing the things. Because a lot of times that's what I'm doing. I just want to be open and learn. And you might just be open and learning from this episode. And you're not going to do it. And that's okay. Or you might be listening, you're getting the chills and you get some hair standing up in the back of your neck. And this might be for you then. You might be at a point in your journey where you're ready to like, no, I could do this. No, I could do this. I think I'm about there, girls. So I'll let you know. I don't know. I've been sharing an awful lot on this damn podcast lately. So I'll keep everyone posted on this journey. And I think I just need to logistically see where it fits in to my life, right? Because you got me thinking now, when you do it is important too. I don't want to do it 2 days before I'm heading to go do something and be around a bunch of new people, right? Yeah. I want to feel grounded. You want to feel grounded for a while afterwards.
It really is equivalent to preparing to take an epic journey.
Yeah. You know, like a trip. If you plan any big trip, you're planning it for a while.
You're planning, you're preparing, you're packing, everything's very thoughtful.
Yes.
You have a plan.
What do I need to bring?
It should be done that way.
What am I going to do when I get there? Yeah. It's like any other trip, any other journey. It's got to be planned out a bit. Yeah. This is not, well, sometimes spontaneous things are nice, but this isn't one of them. No. This isn't your friend sitting next to you with a bag of mushrooms and offers you like Doritos. No, you don't just grab them. Don't do
like
it.
You said, you do you.
Yeah. You do you. But I hope you guys have gotten something out of this. I know I have, and this is why I bring you guys along with me so that as I'm learning, you can learn too, and you can make the conscious decision of if this is your next step. Might not be now, might be next year, might be never. That's okay too, right? Just another option, another little tool for our toolbox, just like your therapist and everybody else. We got to have the tools on board to get through shit. All right? Because let's not pretend because we've hit midlife, we can figure everything out and be fine. There's more shit coming. I'm sorry to break it to you. If you didn't know that yet out there, there's more shit coming. We got to be ready and in a real good place to handle it and finish this life strong. Okay. Well, you guys both, thank you so much. We got Tammy, we got Ange. I'm sure as they have more things going on, because Tammy's going to have a book out someday. I'm feeling a vibe over here from Ange. She's got things changing in her world too. So we're going to stick with them. When there's changes with these girls, I'm going to let you know. And when there's changes with me and I do this damn journey, I'm going to let you know about that too. I'm not going to let you know everything. As I've said before, it's my business, but I'm going to let you know enough to know if it's right for you and take the scary fear out of it, because we've been instilled with way too much fear in our lifetimes. Maybe you're ready to ditch the fear. Okay, so Tammy and Ange, thank you so much for all this information, and come back anytime and let me know the new things, all the new things. I love to learn new things. I'm a lifelong learner too. And everyone listening, thank you for listening from all three of us, and tune in next week because there's more good stuff coming. There's always more good stuff coming. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now, I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much. And I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.